I got very anxious. I sit on a creek, I live on a creek here, and although we've never flooded in the past, it didn't sound good. So I made plans to evacuate myself to a nearby hotel. And then of course the hotel was later evacuated, and then I wound up in family further away. But in the meantime, my house was sitting here, and since I was no longer in the house, I did not get the chance to see the actual activity. But we live on a creek that's behind the house, and it's never touched the house in terms of the 45 years that we've been here. But this was an unusual storm with an awful lot of rain that came through and came down, and the Brazos River being, under assault. The little creek just didn't have anywhere to go. And so all the runoff water just rose and came to the house. In the meantime, I also lived downhill on my street. And so rains that come normally would come down to my house. And evidently, the tremendous amount of rain made a lake in the front of my house. So I got water from two directions. And so basically my house got surrounded. The reaction of the storm coming didn't really terrify me until my cell phone would do the emergency alarms to go to a safe spot. And that's what I did. I found a spot in the restroom that was as insulated as I could be, because tornadoes were kind of whipping around my area. And I didn't know if a tornado could, tear apart a building pretty easily. And evidently it could. It did strike in a few areas nearby. The water surrounded the house, evidently, and seeped in through the lower levels of the bricks and the wood and the wood, and came into the flooring in the house. And it was evidently enough water that came in through those areas, the perimeter of the house, that the flooring was compromised. And then the walls within a couple of feet from the floor were also compromised, especially with the insulation. So the necessity to tear everything out from, say, 3 feet down to the floor was necessary. So my house was totally disturbed. And that took about 5 months of workers coming in and doing their different jobs to clean up the house, to tear apart the necessary parts, and then the renovation that had to go on. In the meantime, I was able to return, and I did live in a part of the house that did not get affected. But by the same token, that was where I was pretty well barricaded. It was wonderful. The sense of relief that comes with knowing that you have some control over something in a situation that had no boundaries of what it would do to you or your family or your house or your home. It was an overwhelming feeling. But to have that beginning where I could control protecting my belongings. And that's where the first grant that I got made a big difference. I was a lucky person in terms of what many other people dealt with. There are people that I've met and known that are still out of their house. And there are some people that are still living in their houses in which the walls are still bare, and you can see from one room to the other because there's no sheetrock. My husband and I, we were always very concerned about having the resources to keep that from happening. But even if you have the resources or you have the help of a grant, it doesn't take away the event and the resulting experience. It's bad, B-A-D, and you don't want to wish it on anybody.